Welcome, everybody, to another thrilling episode of HomeKit Insider. You've got me, Andrew O'Hara, here with my pal and Pippi Longstocking's long-lost cousin, who she affectionately called Jiminy Log Spinning. It's Stephen Robles. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. That was off the cuff. I think I could tell. That was
Thank
good,
you.
though. You pulled out. You pulled out there. You landed. Stuck the landing. Well, midsummer here, we still got a bunch of HomeKit news, which is great. So I want to jump into it. And I got a product right off screen here that I'm saving for a little while. I'm not going to reveal. Oh, nope, not revealing it. Not revealing it yet. We'll get to that. All right. First of all, Eve has been on a roll, man. Eve has been releasing stuff, and now we have a new Eve Aqua. If our listeners are familiar, the Eve Aqua is what connects to like your water hose or your spigot, I guess you would say. Connects to the spigot, hose connects to the Aqua. And now there's a new version. It's got thread, obviously, but it's a new design also. And the thing I was most excited about is there's a new mechanism that starts, blocks and then opens the water. It seems to be a magnetic some kind of mechanism. Andrew, tell me what you know about this new Eve Aqua.
Yeah, so they completely redesigned everything here. So it still has an aluminum body, but now it comes in a nice space gray. It has a matte black front with a larger button so you can physically control this. And like you said, Stephen, they redesigned the mechanism on the inside to be stronger and more durable, as well as entirely silent when it is turning on and off your flow of water. They also replaced the connectors with new brass fittings, which I find really helpful, because I did notice that recently when I was moving into the backyard, I'm spinning it onto my fitting and like the plastic was like jumping a thread. Like I would tighten it all the way and then it would just jump down to the next line, like when I tightened it too much. So
No good.
I'm excited to have a stronger connection there. Other than that, it supports Thread. So especially if you have something nearby that's able to jump that, a HomePod Mini, an Eve Energy, something like right inside your house that's able to extend that Thread network out further into your yard. Super helpful. And just like with the original one, it works with I don't know how you say it. I don't know how you say words, Stephen, but like the Gardenia system, like that drip watering system, that's really cool. I looked into it for our back gardens before making my own sprinkler system, but it's these really nice little pipe fittings you snap into place and can like drip water all of your pots and gardens and stuff like that. But they include like a little connector in the box to set that up if you want. So yeah, a solid upgrade overall from the second generation Eve Aqua.
Yeah, I might try this out. We talked about the original Aqua a while ago. I still have mine, and that it is loud, when it opens up, or whatever. But it was always the leakage that got me. There was always some drips, or I could never get it to seal solidly. A lot of times it had to do with water pressure, not necessarily the Eve Aqua's fault. And we talked about solutions for that. There's like adapters to lessen the water pressure from your spigots. But this time, I'm curious how the magnetic thing works. Of course, Thread, very useful for outdoor devices because of that, better connection. And this does use a pair of AA batteries. Now, we've talked about battery-operated things before. Would you have preferred, Andrew, that this be like a rechargeable thing, maybe with a USB-C port instead of AA's?
I think I'm okay with this because it is intended for that outdoor use.
Right.
When you put a port on something that's meant for outdoors, it gets bad. I mean, if you look at other, like my Arlo floodlight camera, it does have a port on there that you can use to physically charge it if you don't pull out the battery, but it's hidden inside the enclosure. So it's like on the bottom of the camera, and then that slides into a covering, and they have to remove to get to it. So the port itself is very protected. But with this, I don't know where you would hide a port. I also don't know how much power like the motor uses to open and close. And I would just I don't want to be charging something that's outside. And to be honest, the reason I think I'm most okay with batteries is because I don't want to unscrew. It feels tedious to like unscrew it from the faucet and then unscrew the hose or something. And then you got to take it inside to charge it and then come back. That seems annoying. So if I can just leave it in place and swap the batteries, it seems more okay.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, you know what? As we record, my camera is giving me the battery sign because I forgot to plug it in. So our YouTube viewers are going to see me frantically plug that in. I just saw it. One of my HomeKit switches that are under the desk that I have here lost connection. It's a Wemo Switch. It's the Thread one. It's a nice new one, but it lost connection. And so I actually have my camera on that Wemo plug. So I just plugged it in. It looks like it's okay. I see the little power thing next to the battery. We'll see. If I go black, Andrew, you'll know why. And I'll come back shortly after. Okay. Speaking of Wemo.
Before we move on.
Oh, just kidding.
Before we move on. Sorry, you just had your nice transition.
Nice transition. That's okay. Good.
2 more things on the Eve Aqua.
Okay, good.
First, I just thought it was interesting that we got a 2nd generation Thread version of the Eve Aqua before they've gotten to Thread-enabled versions of things like the button and the flare. Those are 2 big ones that I've been waiting for an update for, and we're like mostly through like the gardening months. Not like mostly through. There's plenty left.
Sure.
But it's like I don't know. If this maybe would have launched in like spring to coincide with the whole like summer and springtime and everything, I would maybe. But like I just find it interesting we're on a 2nd generation Thread device, 3rd generation of the Eve Aqua before we have an updated button, flare, and some of their other products. So I just thought that was kind of funny in terms of their roadmap, what they were doing. And they also wanted to bring attention to the branding on this, Steven. I don't know why I called you Steve.
Either way.
The hard V. But they are going with the Apple Home branding. One of the very first products that I've seen make the transition from HomeKit to Apple Home on the branding of their product.
That's interesting. Yeah, and it's even on their website. Works with Apple Home. And so that's interesting. It's $150, by the way, if we didn't mention that before. It's available on Amazon. But the other thing I was going to say, the Thread versions of the button and flare, that would be very welcome because I do have a flare. It's actually behind me right now. I'm not sure if viewers can see it. No, it's just right off camera. But anyway, the flare, I have a bunch of HomeKit scenes set up for different podcasts and video filming. And the flare is always the last device to get the hint. You know what I mean? Like if I do my purple look like I have now, I'll hit the HomeKit scene. Everything changes, lights turn on, even the smart switches that aren't Thread. And then I just turn around and I just stare at the flare and I say, how long? And then it changes. So that would be amazing for the flare to finally have Thread. That's all. I agree.
Now, you ready for this? Even I'm going to give you a layup to a transition. Okay.
Okay. Oh man. Okay. Good.
I also love that we haven't gotten a version of their updated in-wall switch either with Thread.
That's very true. But funny you should mention that, Andrew, because
is it funny?
Yeah, it's funny because we actually have a new Thread dimmer switch from Wemo. Thank you for that. That was very good. Now the Wemo switch. We've been talking about it for months, announced at CES. I had been waiting for it as I built my house, but it's finally-ish out. It's available to pre-order. They say it's coming out this month. If you go to the Belkin website, it says August it's coming. So ships in August. We're in August, so hopefully it ships very soon. But this is redesigned and Thread-enabled. And so I have several of the original Wemo dimmers in my house now because I couldn't wait for this. And the original Wemo dimmer had a touch-sensitive surface for dimming, where you would slide it up and down just by touching the surface to increase or decrease dim level, and then you would actually press the button to just turn on or off. And some people liked that because you could set the dim level before you turn the light on, and it would stay at that dim level. And they've gone with a different design now, where it is kind of a paddle-style dimmer switch, kind of like you would see Lutron, where there's a up button to increase the dim level and then the down button, and it will go up and down like on those clicks. You can hold it and it'll go up too. But so it's different designed, but of course it has Thread, and that's what we were waiting for. $60. I'm a little torn. I want the Thread version. This also looks to be a little slimmer in wall. I talked about this, I think, last week, where sometimes in those gang boxes, it can get very crowded. And I have several some of these are really big. And the original Wemo switches were like thick, like THICC, you know what I mean? Like it was thick to get into that walking. Andrew didn't crack when I said that, but it was close. Anyway, so I like that this looks a little more low profile, maybe easier to fit in the gang boxes. But tell me what you think about this, man.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this for a while now. And a lot of people love the Wemo stuff. This is our... I think it might be the first in-wall switch right? That supports Thread.
I think so.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. I like the Wemo stuff. The only thing I would say is just going on how much I've been using it recently. I really like the Leviton Wi-Fi versions. They're Decor Wi-Fi ones. They're really nice. And I like that you can see like the brightness level indicated on the LEDs on the side. So you actually like know like, oh, is this all the way up? Can I dim it lower? Like that kind of thing instead of just guessing and then it goes either just like doesn't do anything or goes off. So I like that they had that level. And the Leviton one has the ability like to customize, like, does it like fade? Does it jump? Does it, how fast does it transition? When you turn off, like, does it dim down or just turn off? I like some of those options that you have with the Leviton one, and it's Wi-Fi connected. So in your home, in my home, Wi-Fi is solid with a mesh network. So I'm fine with a Wi-Fi version. I don't need the Thread version. Like, I guarantee I'm getting more, Thread devices throughout my house. But yeah, it's like, I know I'm going to have a lot of Thread devices. I don't have to have this one as one. I think I would still leave like towards the Leviton one just because of those extra dimming features. This does not require a neutral wire though, which is handy for older homes. Yeah. Has NFC pairing for setup, super fast and easy. And I was wondering, I didn't see this, Stephen, because it does have persistent power, but they just say supports Thread. I did not see if this is a Thread router or just an endpoint.
It does not say border router anywhere on their page.
Not border router, just router.
Just router. Router is also not on their page. So I don't think...
So there's like 3 different things like a Thread device can be, right? While you're kind of looking, Stephen.
Yeah.
Your border routers are your HomePods, your Apple TVs. Nanoleaf stuff now can act as that border router where it'll bridge your home devices to the network. And then you have the routers, which are the ones that are able to extend your network. They usually require that persistent power. So things like the Nanoleaf light bulbs, the Eve Energy is able to act as a router and extend that Thread network. So things that's, mesh Thread network. So those routers are extending the network and passing information between. And then you have things that are endpoints, which are going to be your battery-powered devices, really low-powered devices, things like contact sensors. The new Eve Aqua counts as an endpoint running on battery. It can't be expected to continuously bridge that network, things like that. So it does have persistent power being in your wall. I would hope it would act as that router and extend your Thread network. But oddly enough, Wemo Belkin didn't say here whether it is an endpoint or a router. So I may need to ask.
I just looked through,
as we do our review and stuff.
Yeah, I just looked through the support and Q&A, and I don't see anything about specifying that. So unsure. Obviously, the Thread is going to make it respond faster, which I think would be welcome. Again, after using several of the Wemo dimmers on Wi-Fi, they're good. I'd say pretty reliable, but I would like the Thread. Like you said, no neutral wire, which is a huge deal. I mean, previously, if you wanted a HomeKit dimmer switch without a neutral wire, your option was Lutron, and I think that might have been it. There might have been like an Akara switch and a Meross switch, but not dimmers, I don't think. It's been a while. So very welcome that this works with neutral or without neutral wires. One other specific, it is not compatible with 3-way switches or 3-way location control. And so you can listen back to some past episodes about my 3-way switch saga. But if you're looking for a 3-way dimmer that's wired, your options are the Leviton switches, where you get the companion switch, and you have to make sure you get the right companion switch to go in a 3-way circuit, or just connect the wires in the wall so it's constant power and put a Lutron Pico remote where the third 3-way switch would go. Do that in one location, and I'll say it's the easiest, and I highly recommend because it's just much easier. But anyway, welcome. Once this is actually shipping, I'd be curious. I might switch out one of my Wi-Fi Wemo switches with this one just to test it out, see how it works. But glad it's finally here.
We should help people by answering some of the Q&A questions on Belkin's website. Let's just pick one at random and see if we can answer it.
Okay.
How about, does this turn the lights on and off? Well, you wonderful question asker. GoQo. Yes.
Now, listen.
It does not just dim
To
it also turns them on and off.
To GoCo's defense, maybe they bought the Wemo stage controller thinking it controlled some lights, and they got it, and they were like, what do I do with this candy bar? You know, maybe.
Okay, this is called a smart dimmer. The only thing that they could have thought was this solely dimmed your lights, and you never could get them back on. They would just dim. You wouldn't turn off, just dim them. That is it. You need a different product to turn them on and off.
I'm just saying. Maybe. Anyway, listen, before we get to I'm very curious what this next item is, because I did not see this in the news. This is the Chamberlain garage door opener. But before we hit that, we have one sponsor for today's episode, and I'd like to thank them because they're a faithful sponsor, and I love pretty much everything that they make, and it is Nebia. Nebia, the makers of the Nebia by Moen Spa Shower, which is an advanced shower system, twice the coverage and half the water usage of standard shower heads. Now, we've talked about all kinds of Nebia products in the past. I still love the Nebia by Moen Spa Shower. You got the magic wand with the magnetic dome, plus the shower head, excellent pressure and rinseability, thermal comfort. But if you're a faithful listener of this podcast, you know that I have bought basically everything that they make for the bathroom, like the towel hooks and the shower shelf. But my favorite is still the quick dry earth mat. I'm still using that. They didn't send me one. I just bought it because it's really cool. And their towels. I mean, my whole bathroom is basically Nebia, and it's wonderful. But listen, start with the shower head. 15 minutes, you can switch that out. I've never done one before, and this one was a piece of cake. And Andrew, I know you got some Nebia shower heads in your house. What do you think of them?
I really like them. I think, though, my favorite thing is how much Nebia has turned you into a fanboy. Not from them sponsoring the show, but you started off with a single shower head, additional shower heads, towels, bath mats. I would not be surprised if you hand embroidered your own Nebia shirts just to wear them around, because you genuinely like their stuff that much.
I do.
I have not got like their shower mat yet, but it's on my list. But they make such great things, and it's not a surprise they turned into such a big Nebia fan.
Nebia, I don't know if I want to promise this. I was gonna say maybe if they commit to sponsoring the next 5 years of HomeKit Insider, maybe I'll get a Nebia tattoo, but I don't think I'm gonna do that. But Nebia, if you like that idea, I mean, get in touch. We can talk about it. I don't have any tattoos, and that would be something. No promises. But
Your
anyway,
wife would love it.
Yeah, she would love that. I'll do my wife. I'll do I love my wife tattoo, and then I'll put Nebia right under it. So priorities. But anyway,
why don't you promise to change your name to Nebia?
To legally
and then it'll be HomeKit Insider with Andrew and Nebia.
I'll change my middle name.
You'll just be Nebia.
I'll be Stephen Nebia Robles. I'll legally change my middle name.
Okay.
And then whenever I get travel, a driver's license, it'll be an ad. Anyway, I love Nebia. They make great stuff. Try the shower heads, the Nebia by Moen Spa Shower and the Quattro shower head. Love both of those. The Nebia by Moen Spa Shower starts at just $199. And, of course, for HomeKit Insider listeners, we have the deal, Nebia.com/HomeKit. You go to that website, click the link in the show notes. Use the promo code HomeKit, all one word, at checkout, and you get 10% off all Nebia products. You get the towels, the quick dry earth mat, whatever you want to get from Nebia, 10% off with promo code HomeKit, Nebia.com/HomeKit, Nebia. That's how you spell Nebia. Nebia.com/HomeKit. Check out what they have to offer. Save 10%. Promo code HomeKit. 10% off all Nebia tattoos. No, that's not true. That's not part of the ad. The ad was over. It's not true. All right. Let's talk about Chamberlain garage door opener. Yeah, what am I missing here? What happened? What is this?
So somebody else tipped me off to this, and it seems that Chamberlain has discontinued their HomeKit garage door controller.
Okay.
When this person reached out to support, they said that the product had been discontinued, and going forward, they would not be supporting HomeKit on their bridges. It would solely be the Amazon and other platforms.
Oh no! Now I'm on Chamberlain's website right now. They still have a page for HomeKit talking about the MyQ experience with Apple HomeKit compatibility and Siri voice control. They bring you to the MyQ home bridge, and there's this is interesting now. There's a get support button for the MyQ bridge, but there is no buy button. So it might be that they are still offering support, but you can't buy it. Oh my goodness. Well, that's unfortunate because we didn't really have a lot of choices with garage door openers before that have HomeKit. And now it looks like this
there's
one's
Meross, right?
Meross. That's the one I have. And it's, I will say, still very reliable. Use it every day. Get notifications on my Apple TV screen whenever the garage door opens and closes. And even use it in some automations. If you trigger from the watch or the iPhone, it runs the garage door thing. So love the Meross one. It is an additional, like an add-on, that's, you have to actually attach it to your current motor. You got to do a little bit of wiring. You have to run another sensor, which is kind of the biggest hassle with the Meross one. I mean, it's just the nature of the kind of product it is. It has to have its own sensor to know whether the garage door is open or closed because it doesn't plug into the actual Genie or Craftsman or whatever one you already have. But the Chamberlain was nice because it was the Chamberlain motor was just the one thing, one sensor, and you use the bridge to connect it to HomeKit. And yeah, it looks like their website, they're not selling it anymore. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I used one of these when I had a garage, and it worked great. It was so nice. It showed up in CarPlay when I would come and go, and was super reliable and responsive. It really, other than a little bit of a finicky setup process, getting it to join my network because it was kind of farther away from my home. But once I got ample Wi-Fi coverage out there, everything was smooth. It worked really nicely. I still have it here in case we ever get a garage. But yeah, this is a little bit bummer. But I guess the good news. Good news is Matter is almost here, and garage doors are a category in Matter. So I would think that we're going to have several more options coming out here soon that would support HomeKit via Matter. So that's a positive, right?
Yeah, for sure. I will put a few links. I just did a quick cursory search on HomeKit garage door openers. And there are a couple other options besides the Meross. There's an Insignia Wi-Fi garage door controller for Apple HomeKit, and then the ismartgate, lowercase I, smart, all one word. They have a Wi-Fi garage door opener, and it's kind of like another add-on type thing. None of these actually replace the whole motor, but you can get these add-ons. And of course, the Meross one, which again I've used it in several garages, and it's always worked well. So I'll put links to all those in the show notes. People can look there. The Onvis light strip, they just released a new, really budget-friendly light strip, $28 for a 5-meter light strip. And so if you're in the market for another HomeKit light strip, don't need a hub or anything, just connects to Wi-Fi, Onvis has got another option for you, $28. We'll put a link to that one in show notes. That's cool. And now this one is super interesting. Zemismart. Zemismart actually is a company that made the hub that connected Zigbee devices to HomeKit, which was really cool. Well, they've actually now made a HomeKit device that doesn't require a hub. This is a Wi-Fi controlled device, direct HomeKit, and it is a curtain motor, but not like the curtain motors we've talked about before that hang on the rod and physically push the curtain like a robot. This actually replaces the entire curtain mechanism. And so the track and everything, the motor that runs it, this actually is a complete replacement for a curtain in your home. It starts at about $150 for an 82-inch style motor. This would require much more installation, obviously, like you're replacing the track and all of that. So it would be a little more work, but no hub. It is a HomeKit product. And I think this is one of the first of its kind that I could think of that's not like the robot pushing along a rod. So it definitely is a little more streamlined. You do have to have a outlet near the curtain, though. This is not battery powered. You do have to plug this in. So depending on where your curtain is, and if you have any outlets nearby, that might be the only, cumbersome part of this. But this looks pretty cool. I thought it was cool.
I will say it doesn't look great to me. So like the track is fine going across the top, but the whole body and the motor dangles.
Yeah.
Down the left-hand side. And it looks like it's like a couple inches wide by like a foot tall or something. So it looks like it's a substantial block. And then you have that power cord that hangs down from there. So it's not even like they tucked it behind the curtain so that the curtain would close over top of it. It's viewable the whole time. So
yeah,
I don't love the placement of the motor and all that stuff. I kind of wish it would have been able to hide up in the track or recessed back so that the curtain would cover it.
Sure.
But yeah, it's not bad, but
it's not bad. And it's, kind of the first of its kind. So, give pass. Anyway, I think it looks pretty, the idea is pretty cool. And so it's exciting to see like a slightly different HomeKit product that's, trying to get more in the like built into the home type product as opposed to kind of a, add-on or thing like that. So anyway, we'll put a link in the show notes. You can check that out. Now you have here a Smartmi air purifier deals. We talked about the Smartmi 2 review, I think last week. So what kind of deals we have going on?
Yeah, let me see. I don't even know what the dates of these are. I copied it really quick because it came in this morning. Okay, good. Mm-hmm. So I like to cover deals when we can on here.
Sure.
But things with deals, it's always like the day of or something, which doesn't work very well when we record the podcast, like before the day that it debuts. So not as always helpful.
Sure.
But Smartmi has a couple sales going on for both the Air Purifier P1 and the Air Purifier 2 that we just reviewed. So the Air Purifier P1, which I very much liked, it is 20% off. It runs through August 8th. So will that make it, Stephen? I think that just makes it.
It makes the day that this episode airs is that day.
See, there we go. So you'll get it for that day. So it goes from $180 to $144 on Amazon.
Okay.
So it's a pretty good 20% off. And the Air Purifier 2, that's 15% off, going from $260 down to $221. Again, expires on 8/8.
Okay.
So if you're looking for an air purifier, these are not too bad. Those are pretty good deals. I really like the P1. That was one of my favorites. We still use that. Had a slightly smarter display, I think, but the Air Purifier 2 has that UV sterilization, which is also cool. So a couple options if you're looking for an air purifier.
That's cool. Very cool. Smartmi, get them air purifiers. All right, let's move into personal projects. And so on last week's episode, I talked about my pool situation, wanting to watch stuff out by the pool. We got a projector and one of those inflatable screens and wanted to figure out the sound issue, because hearing what's going on in the movie is a challenge, with depending on whether you're near the screen and in the pool, if you have hot tub jets going. And so big area. We had 2 Sonos 1SL speakers and a stereo pair on like the seating area of the patio. Those were cool, airplay. But if you were in the pool, you couldn't hear. So we talked about it. We talked about a solution last week. And listeners, if you have any more ideas, I'd love to know. I did move from using my iPad with like an adapter to play stuff to just bringing an Apple TV out there. I had a 1080p Apple TV that I have here in the studio that I really don't use for pretty much anything. But I got an additional power cable, and I had an additional HDMI cable. So I can just take the box and I can leave kind of the cables hooked up where they are. So I took the Apple TV out there. Works really well out there. The Wi-Fi reaches out there. And when it comes to AirPlay speakers, the Apple TV, I think it even works better than the iPad, just because didn't have to think about all the different things the iPad might have been thinking about. So the Apple TV works great. And for the first try at a solution, I got me one of these things heavier than I thought. This is the Sonos Move, which the camera's really struggling to focus there. This is the Sonos Move, and we have talked about it before, but it's my first experience with it. This is a Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connected speaker, but it connects with AirPlay, and so you can AirPlay to this from an Apple TV, and it does have Hey Sonos and Hey Amazon Assistant, no Hey Apple Assistant. But if you want to do the voice control, you can do that, or you can just leave those off. I've left mine off. But first of all, this thing is really cool. I know we talked about it like many episodes ago, but for those who don't know, the charging base for this thing, which is like that little oval that has just the 2 metal pins, you just place the Sonos Move and these 2 pins connect to that little oval, and really cool charging solution. Very easy to just plop it down. It's charging. Awesome. Sound, amazing. This thing, I would say it doesn't match a big HomePod, but it's really, really close. If you played this and a big HomePod next to each other, I don't know if I could tell the difference maybe, but it sounds very good. And I find the bass on this, the Sonos Move, much better than the Sonos Ones that I have even in a stereo pair. I think this is just a physically bigger speaker, I think, so there's probably a larger sub in here, but really cool. It also charges via USB-C, which is cool. So anyway, this thing is now in the patio area with the two Sonos One SLs, and so I brought my Apple TV out there, connected it to the projector, went to the control center of Apple TV, connected to both the Sonos One SL pairs via AirPlay 2 and this, because the Apple TV can send the audio to all of it. It can send it to all three of these speakers at the same time. Cranked it up, and it works pretty good. My kids were in the water, and this Sonos Move was like literally right on the edge of the pool at risk of falling in, but it didn't fall in. It's splashable. You can splash this thing, and it's fine. It's made for that. Not submerge. Don't put it in the water, but you can splash it. And so this was like right on the edge of the pool. They were on floaties, and we were all watching it, and they could pretty much hear with this. And then we were sitting on the patio in the seating area, and the Sonos One SL pairs, we could hear that. And it was doable. It was pretty good. I would love the volume to be a little more, just because the fan of the screen, trying to keep that screen inflated, is pretty loud. And we're outside, so the sound just kind of like dissipates. But this was a good solution, and obviously going to keep this. I do love the handle. I know you mentioned this in your review, but this handle to just kind of hold the Sonos Move, love that. Love that built-in handle. I may. These are not cheap. This thing was like $400, I think, and you can put them in a stereo pair, and so I may do that. Just because we do need a little more volume for those in the pool. Not sure yet if we'll do it. We'll see how often we actually watch movies out there. But I will say, great solution for an outside, viewing area. Apple TV does great airplaying to multiple speakers at the same time. They all stayed in sync and, stayed connected. And this thing, even on the far side of the pool, away from the Wi-Fi router, it worked really well. So thumbs up on the Sonos Move. And I even just was swimming the other day and wanted to listen to some music while I swam. This thing, bro, sounds great. It's really good. So pretty good solution. If there's any other ideas out there from listeners, I'm all ears. I would also love for Apple to make something like this, like a portable HomePod with Siri and AirPlay. They probably would never do something like this, battery powered, but I would love this to just be a HomePod, because I can't do Siri on this. You can only do Sonos and Amazon Assistant and Google, I think. But yeah, I would love to have Siri on it. So anyway, any questions about my pool setup, Andrew? I think I tried.
I don't know. It still drives me crazy that there's the giant fan going.
I know.
I feel like no matter what, just pumping up the sound louder, you still have a fan going in the background.
Yeah.
Distracting.
It's true.
So that would drive me crazy. For anyone who doesn't need as much sound, you of course have the smaller Roam that's more affordable. But if you're like looking for the most sound, obviously you need the bigger speaker.
Yeah.
I also want to just really praise again Sonos's design for the charging stand.
Yes.
It seems really subtle, and it's kind of even hard to describe without like experiencing it. But like Steven said, it's an oval, and there's a cord that goes out the back, and they're using contact pins because you could just go with their like wireless Qi charging base like the Roam, but because it's such a bigger speaker with a bigger battery, it would take forever to charge. It'd be dumb. So the contact pins are faster at charging it. So this oval, it's kind of like, I don't know what, like it's got like a ridge in the middle, like it's pointy as it goes around, and the bottom of the speaker is curved, is tapered. The idea being, when you go to place your speaker in, you do not have to line it up. When you set it down, the base will shift, or your hand will shift as you're placing the speaker to like tilt it and rotate it into the perfect spot. Yeah. And it's crazy because when you're setting something down, you're kind of just haphazardly placing it. As long as you are at all close to the charging thing, it'll line everything up and pull it into position. And it's really cool. Really, really cool. Small little thing. But I really liked that touch.
It is great, and I have never missed. Like, I've never had to, like, reseat it to charge it. It's always connected the first time, like you were saying. And when I first set it up, the battery was at, like, 20%. I left it sitting there on the wireless charger for a couple hours, and it was 100%. I don't know exactly when it hit 100, but it charges at a good speed. And the battery lasts a long time. We played a 2-hour movie plus a couple hours of music before that with this off the charger, and it lasted plenty. I think it had like maybe 70% battery still left after all of that. So really, really great product. Like you said, Sonos with the design and sound, they're really killing it. And I do think there is there's space for Apple to also be in this market because it's only Sonos. Like there's not really a lot of other options for something like this that's high end, sounds great, well designed, engineered. Like Sonos is it. They're the only ones got it. They did not send me the speaker. I bought the speaker. So this is not an ad or anything, but I've been really impressed as I've gotten more and more Sonos stuff around the house with the Arc and the subwoofer and this. Expensive. This stuff is not cheap, but you understand why. I think once you get it, it is very high end. So anyway, love it. Love it.
And everyone always complained that this was a very expensive like Bluetooth speaker basically, but the idea with this from the beginning was that this had a permanent place in your house, just like a Sonos One or something like that. Like it had a spot on your counter. That's where it lived. But at any time you could pick it up and take it with you.
Right.
And that I think is just the ultimate convenience because you have this great sounding indoor speaker. It's assigned to a room. You can use it with AirPlay and group with your other Sonos devices. And then at any point you can just pick it up and carry it outside. Yeah. And still using AirPlay, never losing audio, just so smooth. And to your point, Stephen, about the HomePods, there are third-party companies that make portable base stations for like HomePod Mini and HomePod to make them portable. Like it just sits on top.
Yeah.
And there's like a battery inside and you can just take it with you, which is still a cool idea.
Yeah, with the HomePod Mini, it's just a USB-C on one end. So I think some, just batteries. Mm-hmm. I know Wes had an article, I think, a year ago on that. One final thing I'll say, because the Move base is so good, this is sitting on a charger right next to one of the One SL Sonos speakers on my patio, and then the other One SL is on the other side of the patio for the stereo pair. If I'm just going to play music and this is just sitting on the charger, I will still play it through all three of those speakers because the bass that the Move adds is significant and actually sounds really good even with the pair. And that kind of like throws, like I didn't think I would do that. I figured I'll just throw to the pair and the Move will just sit there, but it's worth it just to hit that other button to AirPlay to the Move as well as the Sonos ones because that bass is that good. So anyway, Sonos Move, it's pretty good. All right, talk to me about Marshall speakers. You got that under your personal projects. What is that? What'd that be?
You had a perfect layup transition. Speaking of speakers or something, and instead
you're just stuff. Like, sorry.
Moving topics. You had a nice transition.
Sorry.
King of transitions.
This,
Good job, Jiminy Log Spinner. Anyway, these guys launched actually a little bit ago, but I finally got my hands on them, and I was pretty excited. So these are not obviously the same thing as like a Sonos, different audience to a degree, and these are more your portable Bluetooth speakers that you can carry with you everywhere. Right. And these are the two new ones from Marshall. And Marshall has several new ones, but these were the ones I was most excited to test out. So the one in my right hand for people watching, this is the Emberton 2, the second generation Emberton. And this little one is the Willin, the smallest one they've ever created. And I love these for many reasons. First up, sound quality is very good. It is not the best, and I think it actually goes for a signature sound. Like you can almost tell when you're listening from a Marshall speaker that it's got a little bit of that. It's really tough to describe, but it obviously caters to rock music and live music and stuff like that, and it has almost this raw feeling to it. But it sounds really good. Yeah. And I like it. It's not going to be for audio purists, like with Sonos, I feel like the sound comes out very straight. Like it comes out as original as it can,
sure,
without any kind of tinkering or DSP from Sonos itself. These guys have just that kind of very signature Marshall sound to them. The bigger part is I love the build quality of these speakers. So they both have these metal grills on the front. They look like, old school Marshall amps. And bless them that they still use these ridiculously good physical buttons. So like the one on the wheel in here, if you can see, Steven, if this ever focuses, it's a tiny little brass joystick. And it's fantastic. Cool. So you can click it in and move it like up and down to change things. But it's a metal, physical, tactile button.
That's nice.
That is really nice. And it's recessed in, so it doesn't like stick out a whole bunch that could get damaged or anything. But it's just really nice to have. And they have a similar one on top of the Emberton. And it's just really nice to be able to control your playback, your volume, skipping tracks, cool. All of that, just by pushing these metal buttons around. And a lot of them these days, they go with like a touch-sensitive button. Sonos does it, and sometimes it drives me crazy because it doesn't feel good just to tap a flat surface.
Yeah.
And this, you have that physical feedback. It's got such a good click to it. They're also really good water resistant, I think like IP67 on these things. And the Emberton is a second generation device. They have this new feature where you can stack them on top of one another to amplify the sound. So if you bought a second one or your friend got one, you can literally stack them and like double the sound output, which is pretty sweet. That is
funny. So wait, is it Bluetooth and AirPlay or just Bluetooth?
These ones are Bluetooth only. Okay. These ones are portable speakers, all Bluetooth. But first, I just wanted to talk about them because I like talking about speakers and smart speakers and stuff like that. But also, I thought it was interesting, in Marshall's new lineup, it looks like they're discontinuing or moving away from their AirPlay connected speakers. So they used to have AirPlay versions of things like the Stanmore, which is their larger indoor speaker, and it had multi-room audio. And they used like a version of Chromecast to pair things together and do multi-room audio that way, but it also supported AirPlay. And they worked really well, but in their newest versions, they have like newer versions of Bluetooth, like Bluetooth 5.1, and they've ditched the Wi-Fi connectivity. And I don't know if there's like a specific reason for it, but I thought it was interesting. And they've also all gone to now, these can like be paired with the corresponding Marshall app for adjusting the EQ and stuff like that and getting firmware updates. So I don't know. I wonder if there's a reason. I mean, now that they have that ability to like stack them, which isn't really the same as like multi-room AirPlay and stuff like that, but it's curious. But I still really like their speakers. They still sound really good.
Okay.
And I was finally excited to get the Willen one I was most excited about. And it's got this little strap for the back. So you can like attach it to like bike bars or a fence or anything. True. And it can even pull off to hang.
That's true.
I like a good portable speaker. So the Willen one, the Emberton was always my go-to portable speaker that I would take everywhere. Yeah. But now this one is so small I can fit it in my pocket. It might be taking the Willen places now. Okay,
that's pretty cool.
We'll see.
Yeah, I found your old article reviewing the AirPlay Marshall speakers. Clicked all the links, and they're not available anywhere. Amazon, B&H, they're not unavailable, currently unavailable. So yeah, it looks like no more AirPlay, but those look cool. I like that. The little straps and stuff, like again, like the handle on the Sonos Move built in, the little straps on that. Those are useful, especially with portable stuff. So very cool. All right, let's hit some listener questions before we go. You snuck one in here right before we got to the.
I did.
You said where for beginners to start. Now,
yes.
Translate, please. What do you mean? What do you mean that?
So I had a listener question, and I saved it somewhere, and I can't find it at the moment. But someone was just basically saying how much they loved me and how you were meh. I think that was the gist of the email.
That must have been a home kitty, not a home kitty.
Probably. The real question was that they are starting out their smart home and they've added some good devices, but they were wondering like where people who are like beginning their smart home should look in our past episodes. And this is not the first time I had heard this. And I still don't know an answer. I don't know what your suggestion is. Maybe the episode arcs that we did where we were giving product recommendations for certain categories are a decent place, and maybe going into things like deep dives on matter and rooms and things like those. But we've had so many episodes now. We're like on episode, what are we on? You didn't label this one.
It's in Riverside, 114.
We're on 114. I cannot remember like what would be really good. So maybe Steve and I'll have to go back and kind of pick out some good like getting started episodes or something from our catalog. Because we have 40-minute episodes, sometimes, so it's hard just to say, "Oh yeah, go back and listen to them all." They're all great. They're all gems.
That is tough.
But
so starting at episode 78, which was November 29th, 2021, that is where we started the HomeKit device roundups, where we did some smart plugs and garage doors. And then the next episode, 79, we talked about light switches. And then we talked about doorbell cameras and some motion detectors. So starting at episode 78, we really got into kind of devices that we use the most. And I believe we probably talked about maybe some automations and use cases while we mentioned those devices. So I would say start there, episode 78. Sounds good.
I would say what's good about that arc that we did was, even though some of those products like clearly aren't available anymore, garage doors for today's instance, but we try to talk about like the things that you should look for in a product,
right.
Like what types of connectivity or features are going to be important. So even not all products are available, or if there's newer products out, hopefully at least it's some sort of starting off point on giving you ideas of what to look for when you start looking for your stuff.
Yeah, and I will say, if you use a podcast app where you can search within a podcast, I use Pocket Cast. You can do this with Overcast as well. In Pocket Cast, you can search for a word and it will show up any episodes with that word in the show notes. If you search for automation, you'll come up with a number of episodes where we talked about like motion sensor automations, maybe shortcuts,
NFC automations.
And so I think that would be a good word to search for, because I think we really talk about, hey, these are useful automations for different HomeKit devices. I think it would be another good topic to search. So, yeah, I would say do with that. All right, real quick, let's jam through it. Stevens915 asks on Twitter, this is not exactly HomeKit related, but he mentioned both of us, so I assume he was asking for this show. He was asking, what is an app or an all-in-one location to save things to read later, save or watch? So maybe it's articles you want to read or videos you want to watch. You know, you can save things in like YouTube Watch Later and other things, but if you want one place for everything, what could you use? I mentioned kind of some common ones. Pocket and Instapaper are apps that have been around for a long time. I've actually just gone to using Apple's reading list. I find the built-in reading list is pretty good. I can save things from anywhere with the share button, and you can even integrate shortcuts, you know, to add to things like from YouTube or whatever. So Apple's built-in reading list has been pretty good to me, and I just one less third-party thing to deal with. So I've been using that. But Andrew had a interesting recommendation that I had not heard of. Do you remember the name of that thing?
I'm trying to find it right now, and I went down another rabbit hole. I was trying to find it through my mentions of what I threw out. Here we go. Here's the thread. Remind me to come back to what I found. I know we only have a few minutes here. But Steven and Steven here, we're going back and forth a lot. There's a whole conversation list here.
It was it was a new service. It was kind of pricey. Several people said that it's pricey, but
Raindrop.io.
Raindrop.io. Yes.
Raindrop.
I thought there was one other one too, but okay. Yeah, Raindrop.io.
This is the one that I picked up. Yeah, there's a lot of different read later ones, but this one, yeah, it does have stuff like tailored to like videos as well as articles and music and stuff like that. So I thought it was really neat. I thought this was a really cool one that I liked a lot. And that's synced to all your different devices.
Oh, yes, there it is. Raindrop. Okay. Derek Means on Twitter was asking for temperature sensors besides the Aqara one. Now, I recommended first, you know, if you're going to change your thermostat out, just get an Ecobee thermostat and then use their temperature sensors, because not only works with their thermostat, but they also show up in the Home app as individual sensors in rooms, so you can use those for automations. But if you're not switching out your thermostat and you're looking for temperature sensors, the Hue Motion, Philips Hue Motion, actually is also a temperature sensor as well as a light and motion sensor. So all in one. Of course, you need the Hue Hub, but the Hue one is pretty good. And if you're just looking for a standalone temperature sensor, I thought the Eve Room was a good option, because now you can get it with Thread as well.
Yeah, I would basically echo the same stuff. Ecobee is my go-to temperature sensor for stuff. The Eve Room is really nice, but it gets a little pricey when you need to buy like multiple of them. I like the Thread support, but yeah, it just gets expensive if you want to put a lot of them.
All right, this next question was from Roland THDR, or maybe Roland the doctor. Maybe he's a doctor. Well, he was asking with the best floodlight style HomeKit compatible camera for a garage. I tweeted at him, I've been using the Eve outdoor camera, which is the floodlight camera, HomeKit secure video, so it's all, you don't have to pay for another subscription, and it's treated me really well. I really like it. You also have the Netatmo floodlight that also uses HomeKit secure video. I don't have personal experience with that one, and it's a little more, I think it's $50 more expensive, but Eve outdoor cam has been great for me. What do you think?
And then you also have the Arlo floodlight cam. I like the Arlo a lot, and it does have higher resolution. I think it's like 2K resolution, which gives you a little bit more flexibility. Yeah, a little bit more control over the light and everything like that. And you can still control the light independently via HomeKit. So you can say turn on the Arlo light or Arlo floodlight, and it can do that. So that's a good one too.
And then, I don't understand this next question, so I'm going to tweet back at him and ask him to to clarify. So we'll get back to that on next show from Tony. But thank you for those questions. Keep sending questions in. Send your project.
Okay.
Oh, what, you got something?
Yes, the thing that I went down a mini rabbit hole for 2 seconds. I just saw this. The new Wemo dimmer will not support Matter.
Oh, my word. Okay. Oh, well.
Yep. Going to leave that dangling for next week. And I actually do have an editorial, I believe, that'll come out by next week's episode talking about Matter and HomeKit coexisting, why Matter is fantastic, but it's not going to be as simple as people are thinking. Mm-hmm. So
Matter?
Yeah, that's something.
Matter, I'll believe it when I see it. Trademark. All right, listeners, send in your questions, your projects.
Get out of here, Steven.
Keep sending those in. Tweet at Andrew, myself. You can watch the show at youtube.com/HomeKit Insider. And, of course, give us a 5-star rating review.
1 year anniversary of videos. 1 year anniversary on YouTube.
That's wild. Yeah, we're well over 2 years now of the show being in existence. And that's pretty cool, pretty wild. Episode 114.
Pretty crazy.
114. Thank you all, faithful listeners and viewers. We appreciate your engagement. I hear lots of people, even outside the 5-star reviews, say they really listen every week faithfully, and they really like the show. So thank you all. That's wonderful. Keep listening. Keep watching. We'll see you next time.
See ya.